Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me for my review of the 2017 horror film Annabelle Creation, directed by David F. Sandberg and starring Stephanie Sigman, Miranda, Otto, and many other actors who do a solid job overall. And I have to say, for the most part, I really enjoyed Annabelle Creation. I thought it was a very surprisingly solid horror film with some legitimate creepy moments. I think it falls just short of being a great horror film, and I'll get into the reasons for that in this review, but overall, I think this is a satisfying film for horror fans. Now, I will say that this is a prequel to another horror film called just Annabelle, and I've actually never seen Annabelle, and because this was an origin story, I still enjoyed it just fine. You don't really have to see Annabelle to understand or enjoy this film, at least in my opinion. So it worked for me in that regard, and a lot of the things I liked about this film, number one, it was genuinely moody and creepy and even a little scary in places. I'm not someone who really jumps easily at just any creepy scene in a movie, but I thought there was some genuinely disturbing imagery in this film and a couple scenes that caused a lot of tension. I was into it. A lot of that is because of the excellent cinematography and a very good use of sound, which I think is very important in modern horror films. I don't think sometimes that the sound people get enough credit for their contributions to these films. Also, the solid acting helps. This film does have a lot of child actors, and for the most part, I thought they did a solid job. With child acting, it can be very hit or miss, but I thought they all were very likable and solid enough. And a lot of that has to do with the well-rounded characters. I thought the characterization was very good in this film. I actually cared about what happened to the characters. By the time we got to the climax of the film, I was invested, and I give the movie a lot of credit for that because horror movies, sometimes one of the weaknesses is characters that aren't developed very well, but I actually thought they did a very solid job of making the characters believable. They really didn't fall into horror movie cliches or stereotypes. Each character had their good points and their not as great points, but that's what makes them believable, well-rounded individuals, and I like that. The film also avoids some of the other horror movie traps. Like, for the most part, most of the character actions seem mostly believable. A few things here and there you could nitpick, but there wasn't anything that jumped out at me and said, why did they do that? That was ridiculous. So overall, I just thought this was a memorable, solidly done film. Also, of course, the doll Annabelle is creepy, and like I said, there's a lot of good use of other dolls in this film, kind of as a contrast to that, which I thought also worked very well. Now, there are two big issues I have with this film that holds it back a little bit, unfortunately. And even though I think they're two separate issues, they kind of connect and go together, and I'll explain. And that is pacing and jump scares. Now, one thing this movie does, there's a lot of scenes where it just builds tension. There'll be a creepy scene. Admittedly, the scene is creepy, but then it just ends in a jump scare. Now, that's fine once or twice, but this film, Annabelle Creation, does this a lot. And after a while, it got to be an old formula for me. I'm like, yeah, this is a pretty tension-filled scene, but nothing is going to happen at the end of it. We're just going to get a jump scare. After a while, this became very repetitive. There's not a lot of plot advancement in the first half of this film. The first half of this film, although there's some good characterization, some of the scenes go on too long and just feel very padded. And I know they're trying to build the tension, but to me it kind of cheapens the payoff a little bit because it's like after a while I know nothing's happening. So, that didn't totally work for me. But I will say the second half of the film got a lot stronger at this. But even then, it feels like we get a lot of exposition thrown at us at once near the end of the film, and that could have been split up more throughout the film. I still don't understand why a movie can't build suspense and still reveal parts of the plot at the same time. It seems like we get either or, and it seems like movies have a hard time of putting those things together. I don't know if you blame the writing or the editing for this, but either way, it's something that annoys me a little bit. But overall, it doesn't ruin the film because the scenes are well done, moody and creepy. Others may find it to their satisfaction. Overall, I did think Annabelle Creation was a memorable horror film because it does the most important things correctly. It gives us believable characters to care about, and it is genuinely creepy in places, and I do recommend Annabelle Creation. And I will say, if you do watch this film, make sure you stay till the very end of the credits because you'll get an extra scene at the end of the film. So overall, I do recommend Annabelle Creation, and I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. And I think for horror films, it's an enjoyable film. And like I said, you don't have to see Annabelle first to enjoy it. So 3.5 out of 5 for Annabelle Creation. And as always, thank you very much for watching.